Welcome to the 5-Minute Prayer School, teaching ordinary people to live and walk every day with an extraordinary God. This show is brought to you by the Spirit Life Bible School, so if you get opportunity, go check it out at studythebiblenow.com. The scriptures are full of some of the most incredible testimonies of men and women of prayer and examples to us today of men and women who truly prevailed with God and discovered that place of intimate fellowship with our Father in heaven. And of course, our primary example is Jesus Christ himself. Again and again, we find Jesus at work in prayer. In Mark chapter 1 verse 35, just as one example, it speaks about how he would often rise up way before daybreak early in the morning and retire to a solitary place to pray, to spend time in fellowship with his Father. Hebrews 5 verse 7 speaks about how in the days of his flesh he offered up prayers with strong crying and tears. So these weren't, not surprisingly, they weren't half-hearted prayers. They weren't just quick asides as he went about the business of the day. Prayer was a primary practice for him. He understood that this was the place of power. This was the source of power. And the disciples who followed him recognized the very same thing. When they came to him, they didn't say, "Lord, teach us to preach." They didn't say, "Lord, teach us to perform miracles." They said, "Lord, teach us to pray." Clearly they understood that the source of all of these other wonderful things that they were witnessing was this fellowship, this participation of a man with his Creator, with his God. And so throughout some of the lessons that will come up, we'll look in more detail at the example of Jesus and how he operated in prayer. And like I say, the scriptures make it abundantly clear that it was Jesus' prayer life that was so striking and so powerful and moved his disciples to want to follow his example. And, that's really what it means to follow Christ. It doesn't mean just to ascribe to a certain set of creeds or, a certain book of rules. That is a very different covenant altogether. The covenant that we are in is one of fellowship, one of relationship. And to follow Jesus means to emulate him, to look at his life and to walk after his example. It's important for us, though, to realize that Jesus laid aside the privileges of divinity. He chose to walk, to operate, and to minister as simply a man in covenant with God. And that stands as an encouragement and as an example to us today, as covenant men and women, as children of God, as sons and daughters of the Most High, just as he was. That same privilege of intimacy, that same ease of access, that same opportunity to work with, walk with, live with, enjoy, and imbibe of, is open to you and I. Even today, the scriptures tell us in the book of Hebrews that Jesus ever lives to make intercession. This prayer life, the richness of fellowship with God, doesn't stop. It's an eternal thing. And when we sow time and energy and thought into that, the practice of prayer, we're sowing into eternity. We can store up riches here on earth, and I'm a big believer in temporal blessing as well as eternal blessing. I think it's a great thing, and I think that we should expect God to bless us and enrich us unto all bountifulness. But surely the greatest riches that we can pursue are those that will not pass away with us. We can take no thing with us, but our fellowship, our relationship, and those things that we've built in the eternal realm and in the spiritual realm will abide forever. I encourage you, look through the Gospels with a fresh eye and look at the prayer life of Jesus Christ. And then as you do that, look at the prayer lives of other men and women that we find in the scriptures, and let those testimonies, let those lives that have gone before you, let them encourage you that you have been invited into that same place of wonderful fellowship and relationship with God, and to that place where you can see effective answers to your prayer.